Hey y'all, it's Heel Heat time.
Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. This is our WWE show for the week. My name is George Coles and let's jump right into it. First off, the so-so segments of the show. Basically the segments that really didn't move you either way. They could have been there, they could have not. We're going to forget them all in a couple weeks anyway. First one. Sad to say, the tag team match that started off the show. The Uso brothers versus Bray Wyatt and Daniel Bryan, which ended in a DQ. We'll get into later the other portion of this. However, as a standalone match, this match, it just didn't, with the four guys that were in it, and the way they've been building up the feud, I thought it could have been better. I thought it could have been given more time. I understand it was just a precursor for the main event. However, you filled up some time on our show with it, so I have to review it as what it was, and I thought it could have been better. I mean, honestly, it was just an okay match between four guys that I think better of and I think should be doing better. The same thing about our next part of the so-so segment. The New Age Outlaws and CM Punk versus Shield. On paper, I thought this was going to be very exciting. A little bit of confusion as to why the New Age Outlaws would leave from CM Punk. Now I know it ties into the corporate angle. They're friends with Triple H. However, they haven't been played up as such since their return on Old School Raw. They've been played up as just being the New Age Outlaws, an ally to CM Punk. So it kind of left that weird question mark. The Shield, I mean, that really put a damper on the match, the 3-on-1 with the Shield. Roman Reigns with that dropkick on the outside, that was absolutely amazing. He really is showing why he should be the breakout guy in the Shield. Not saying the other two guys suck, but they really need to step it up because he's stepping up his level to brand new heights in the area where he doesn't look out of place wrestling as CM Punk or a John Cena or a Randy Orton. Other two, Rollins and Ambrose, you got to step your game up. Just this match, again, wasn't one that hit on all cylinders for me. The Shield pick up the win, obviously. Just like the first match I talked about, it just didn't hit. It wasn't as good as it could have been. And the next match, I kind of expected being bad going into it. The Rhodes brothers, Cody and Goldust versus Ryback and Curtis Axel. Rhodes brothers have been on a tear, been putting on some really impressive matches. Ryback and Curtis Axel, they're going nowhere fast, and I had really no interest in it because of them, which is why this is on here, because I really didn't care about this match. It gave me nothing to root for. I knew the Rhodes brothers would win. I thought it was weird that they did mention Ryback's meltdown on Twitter. Like maybe it's part of a character he's going to be doing, but still, it was just, I could have done without this match, and that's why these matches are here. And last but not least, for the Rhodes brothers wins, as if you guys didn't know that. Last but not least, for the so-so section, Rey Mysterio versus Alberto Del Rio. There is one main reason this is on here. The whole match, the commentating team treated Rey Mysterio as a gatekeeper for Dave Bautista. We all know that they're building towards a Mysterio-Batista feud when Batista makes his way back next week. Or, I'm sorry, Del Rio-Batista feud. However, they kept saying that, oh, Rey Mysterio is Batista's friend. This is, you know, they tied them all to Batista, where we're talking about a former world champion, one of the most successful wrestlers of the last 20 years, a guy that's more over with the crowd than 90% of the roster, and he put him in a match with Alberto Del Rio. They've had way better matches before. For a throwaway match, I didn't like how they used Rey Mysterio here. Not that I'm against Alberto Del Rio. I think he's a good talent, and I think he's good at what he does. This match, again, like the other three, just didn't hit on anything for me. I just had no interest in it. And the commentating made it worse than what it was. Now, coming off of that, we're going to go into the actual bad portions of the show, as if I didn't talk badly enough about those. First, fittingly, when I say show, Big Show versus Jack Swagger. I don't see any reason why you would bury a guy like Swagger, bury a guy like Cesaro, bury the team that's doing well as a tag team and getting pretty decent reactions as a team. Why you would need to use him as someone to feed the Big Show when you have so many other people on the roster that could be used in that role. That's my whole thing of it. He made a tag team look weak that has been looking strong, and really, I'm a fan of the tag division, and I kind of hope that they build it up, and the Real Americans are one of the teams that should help build it up. But again, they looked weak as compared to the Big Show, which I know they're building him for Brock Lesnar. They could have used somebody else in this spot, someone, I don't know, that it just didn't damage him as much. That's my main beef with it. But I didn't find it as bad as the actual in-ring match that we're going to talk about next. The Funkadactyls versus AJ Lee and Tamina. I hate having to put the Divas matches on there in the bad section every week. I really do. But I can't help it. This was nothing but a missed spot, botch fest all the way around. These four could not get on the same page. It was not an interesting match. The stuff that happened after was not interesting. It did not keep me involved. The only thing I cared about in this whole thing was, or the only thing that caught my eye, was Emma in the crowd from NXT, who's was trained by Lance Storm and is a really good character on NXT. Can't wait to see her on the roster. I'm glad they're bringing her in. Maybe her and some of the other girls in NXT could bring a spark to the division, because as of right now, this division is, I don't know if it's a matter of the booking, I don't know what the problem is, but even when they're booked on the show in a match like this, where they have a chance to showcase, it comes out bad. And I just thought there was too much missed spots in this. It looked too choreographed, in my opinion, for my liking. I mean, AJ and Tamina pick up the win, but I don't know, it just didn't, it was just a terrible match, to be honest with you. But going off of that, we're going to go into our question of the week. Now, normally I print it out and I have a paper to read it off of, but my printer wanted to act weird, so I'm going to read one of the responses from our friends before I go into mine. The question was, do you see Ryback making it through 2014? This was after the Dolph Ziggler injury, but before the Twitter rant that I put this out there. So kind of, even as the week went on, he added more to this. First, we got an answer from our friend Benjamin Me. He goes, I don't see Ryback being in WWE for the end of 2014. I don't like his in-ring work or his gimmick, which feels like a stale retread of Goldberg's Who's Next gimmick, except that the WWE doesn't want to put him over like WCW did Goldberg. If he squashed his opponents as Goldberg did, he might have gained some momentum, but the issue would be his ring work. Again, he would have to squash main eventers to maintain momentum. One option they might have worked out could have been have Ryback as the Authority's enforcer, where he could have worked alongside Triple H and Orton to build his ring and mic technique. They could have put him in a feud with Bryan after they took the title away from him, eventually leading to a feud with the Authority and the Wyatt family. Also, I think he should consider losing a few pounds. If he isn't safe in the ring, steps should be taken to minimize the risk of him hurting the talent. A lot of really great points there. That's why I read the entire thing. I don't see him lasting this whole year. Unfortunately, the time to strike with Ryback was the end of 2012, when he was absolutely one of the hottest acts in the company. They fumbled that so badly that I don't think he'll ever recover from that. I really don't. I think it was 6 or 12 pay-per-views. There was a long stretch of pay-per-views where he lost. You had to be dominant on television, losing every pay-per-view. And the heel turn just has been horrible. The Heyman thing is putting him with Paul Heyman didn't work out. Nothing really has worked out, and I really don't see, with the issues we have where he's injured a couple wrestlers, where he has a Twitter rant, now whether that's part of work or not, it's still, there's still a little, I don't know, I just don't see him making it to the end of the year because I just don't see any need for him, to be honest with you. They got guys that fit that role that are doing better. Big E Langston is a guy that fits a similar role and does a better job of it. Now, coming off of that, we're going to go into our question of the week for this week. With the WWE Network debuting in a little bit over a month now, they're going to have new reality shows. My question is this. You get to create a show. You tell me the concept. Let me know a show that you would like to see on the WWE Network. It could be anything from like maybe it's a copy of an existing show, something like Wrestling Family Feud, or Wrestling Jeopardy, or Wrestling Wheel of Fortune, or Wrestling American Idol. But give me an idea of a concept you'd like to see that you might think would be a good reality show that you'd actually watch. Let me know what you think. Hit us up on Facebook, hit us up on Twitter, put it down where? Down there in the comments. Now, coming off of that, we're going to get into the good segment of the show. Finally, first thing I thought was really good, actually, was Damien Sandow versus John Cena. We all knew the outcome going into this. The thing that I really liked, I think these guys have an awesome chemistry together, and I think it's going to, eventually down the line, we're going to see a Sandow-Cena feud, and I'm going to really enjoy that. I think Damien Sandow, in losing, came out looking just as good as he would have with an easier win. I think that Sandow and Cena, I think Cena did a lot for Sandow in this match to make him look strong. After, the cash in a few months back where it kind of hurt Sandow a little bit, I think this did the opposite for him. I think him hanging with Cena, him having so many false finishes on Cena, made him look strong. And I think this is going to elevate Sandow. And I think this gives John Cena a new opponent, someone new to wrestle with, someone that he has another opponent he has great chemistry with for future main events. Now, speaking of main events, probably one of my most enjoyable parts of the show. The first induction into the Hall of Fame, the Ultimate Warrior. Say what you will about the guy personally, there is no denying that he deserves this spot. If you look at the time he was in the WWE, if he wasn't the most over wrestler there, he was very close second to Hulk Hogan. And by very close, I mean a skin or a hair. I know in the area I grew up in, the Ultimate Warrior was bigger than Hulk Hogan was when they were both in the same time at the WrestleMania 6 era, and the whole era the Warrior was there. I know that my friends, that the kids that I grew up with, liked the Ultimate Warrior way more than Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan was passé, and Ultimate Warrior was something new and fresh. I know there's all the issues with the Warrior. Who gives a shit? That's water under the bridge. Warrior absolutely is one of the guys that deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. He's one of the big stars of the 1980s and into the 1990s a bit. I think it's about time that they put a guy like him in. He really deserved it. I enjoy the fact that he's going to be there, and hell, everybody knows he's going to have the greatest induction speech ever. Coming off of that, one of the matches I really liked, Randy Orton versus Kofi Kingston. Much like Sandow and Cena earlier, this helped out Kofi, but in a different way. Orton pretty much squashed Kofi the whole match, toyed with him, and his overconfidence cost him when Kofi got the quick win. Now, Kofi picking up a win over Orton, I think is going to do wonders for Kofi's career, which has been floundering. I think even if you watch the last show, I talked about how much I didn't care about the match that Kofi Kingston was in because he's not being booked to where you would care. If you give me a Kofi Kingston push, kind of like the 1-2-3 Kid push, which was what this sort of was, he could go far with it. The guy's got athletic talent. He can connect with the fans. I understand that they're going to do a little bit of tweaking to his character, which I'm all for. Kofi, I think, is going to be, if used properly, Kofi could be one of the main attractions on the show. Now, the thing that I didn't like, and this almost put the whole segment into the bad segment, was when Randy Orton attacked John Cena's dad. Been there, done that. We've seen that already. In 2007, I believe, Orton attacked John Cena's dad. To me, I just didn't think it did anything for, other than putting a personal aspect into their feud. It's been done before. You would think common logic, if John Cena Sr. sees Randy Orton coming towards him, he would back off, seeing that he's already been attacked by this guy. But I guess it's wrestling, and they don't want us to. They don't expect we'd remember something like that. To me, it was just too much a reminiscent of the other angle. However, the match itself and the way it played out outweighed what happened after. Now, coming up next, the thing that is on par with the Ultimate Warrior with my big likes on the show, the Uso brothers versus Daniel Bryan and Bray Wyatt. Again, the first match was in the so-so portion. This was in the good portion. This match, it had the stipulation of being in the cage. Kane locked the cage, which I think is going to come into play later. He may be on Daniel Bryan's side, may not. I liked how they worked this. I thought they did great. The Usos being in their first main event looked like they belonged. This was a way better match than the first match, way more psychology involved. The Usos getting the win when they get out of the ring, the quick exit for both of them. I liked it. I liked it after the match. Now, this was another one that I kind of was on the fence about. The match was great. After we have Daniel Bryan, looks like he's going to give himself up again to take the Sister Abigail. However, he pushes Bray Wyatt away and then just full out attacks him, thus breaking himself seemingly from the Wyatt family, taking off his trash man garb and going back to his regular gear. I think they rushed that turn back a little too quickly. However, the reaction that it got has swayed me so far. I mean, I reacted myself at home. I was on the edge of my seat, jumping up and down. I think they rushed it too quickly, but the end justified the means. That crowd was eating out of the palm of Daniel Bryan's hand. Every movement he made, they were in it with him. Every single person in the crowd was chanting yes with him. He got them to move their arms up and down with him. He held that crowd in the palm of his hand and got a better reaction than any wrestler that I've seen in my 30 years of watching wrestling. I have never seen anything like that. I've never seen Stone Cold Steve Austin do that. I've never seen The Rock do that. I've never seen the Legion of Doom do that. That was the greatest reaction and the greatest control of a crowd I've ever seen in all of my years of watching wrestling. It gave me chills. It gave me goosebumps. That was so amazing that Daniel Bryan, the guy that nobody thought could do this, is making himself into the biggest star that the wrestling world has ever seen. I can't say enough good about that. That crowd reaction, the way he controlled the crowd, that was pure amazing. There was nothing in the history of pro wrestling, as long as I've watched it, and even going back before that to the stuff that I watched that happened before I became a fan. I've never seen anything like it. I never have, and I don't think I ever will again. The guy is amazing, and he blows away everything else that there is. That reaction it was off the charts, how good it was. Speaking of charts, we're going to go into our rating system. Now, if you've watched the show before, you know we have a 1 to 5 scale. 1 is the worst, 5 is the best. 1's a Great Khali, 2's a Heath Slater, 3 is a 3 is a Randy Orton, 4 is a CM Punk, 5 is fittingly a Daniel Bryan. I'm going to give this show a 4, a CM Punk. The good was so good that even the so-so and the bad I could look over. I mean, there was a lot of so-so stuff on this, a lot of basically filler. However, the good stuff was so good that it far outweighed that. I mean, it was almost like watching a football game where the score is 3-3 going into the fourth quarter, and then the two teams explode to score 30 points each in the fourth quarter, and it's back and forth. You forget about the first 3 quarters because the last quarter was so amazing. Same thing here. The good segments were great. The so-so segments are going to be forgotten, and the bad segments are even going to be more forgotten. But I thought this was a great episode, giving it a 4, giving it a CM Punk. But basically, that's all I have to say about that. My name is George Coles, and this has been another episode of Heel Heat.